Hi everyone, my name is Michael and I'll be presenting how bones could help you to lose weight. And the short summary of how this works is that there's a cell within your bones called the osteocyte. And this cell has projections, little tentacles on it, that allows it to sense tension felt in your bone that is commensurate to the amount of weight that your body is experiencing. And when it feels a lot of weight, it will send signals that reduce your appetite so that you reduce your feeding and reduce your weight in the process. So this is a bit of how people that do lots of exercise and do lots of walking and running in particular end up having bodies that are shaped and suited for that role. And this was shown in mice, and it was shown to be separate from a system of fat cells releasing leptin that then allow you to lose weight. So first, to understand this, it's good to know what are bones exactly. So I'm just going to briefly summarize that. Bones are an interwoven mesh of a protein called collagen. And this collagen is arranged as a triple strand and is essentially connected in various ways throughout your bone, like a net. And this meshwork of collagen is thoroughly embedded in a crystal salt lattice that is hydroxyapatite. So it's basically a bunch of ropes that have the consistency of cartilage or like an elastic structure, and it's just thoroughly covered in calcium phosphate everywhere. So it's a mixture of protein and salt. That's what your bones are. And there's water throughout the bones. Even your teeth, they're covered in water at all times. All bones in the body are covered in fluid. And the reason why is because there's living organisms in your bones. And it's not just bone marrow. We're talking about within the solid portion of your bones, there's a series of cells such as the osteoclast, the osteoblast, and the osteocyte. The osteoclast will release acidic bubbles of proteases in order to destabilize the crystal structure of bone through the acid that it releases, and to dissolve the protein component through the proteases or protein dissolving substances that the osteoclast releases. And those are also proteins as well. And the opposite of this are the osteoblasts that will release a protein called alkaline phosphatase on their cell surface that allows phosphate to be out of its dimer form and break into monomers. And when phosphate is in a monomer form, it'll form a crystal with calcium. So this ends up forming the crystal portion of bone, and osteoblasts will also release collagen in order to make the protein component of bone. So this cell will single-handedly produce bone. And after it lives its life, it resides in the bone as an osteocyte, where osteo means bone and cyte means cell. This is the most common cell in bone. Now, being the most common cell in bone, it should have a very large impact. And it does in terms of the weight that you have, because these cells have mechanosensitive properties. And when they sense tension, they will increase the activity of your osteoblasts and alter the activity of your osteoclasts so that you will alter how much bone you're forming. And there's a recent article by Olav and Olsen showing that osteocytes will use their mechanosensitive properties in order to help you to lose weight. And the way at which this was shown was by having normal mice and a special transgenic mice. Now, in red, in this top graph, is normal mice, and they are not loaded, so they're not doing exercise. And in black on this graph are the mice that were loaded. So they had basically a weight on their back so that they would do exercise whenever they moved. And this exercise that they were doing allowed them to lose weight, shown here on this graph. There was a reduction of weight from the other type of mice that were the control group. Now, when osteocytes were specifically removed by a transgenic line, we saw that the mice were essentially similar. They behaved the same way. Osteocytes are gone in one of them, and they behave just like the wild-type case. And we saw when there were a set of control transgenic mice and loaded transgenic mice that both of them behaved just about the same way in the long term. There was not a difference of one losing weight based on the exercise that it did. So when osteocytes were there, then you could lose weight based on exercise. And when osteocytes are gone, then even if you are doing exercise, then you do not end up losing weight. The basis at which this happens is not based on leptin, which is from having fat cells that then release a hormone that reduces your appetite, but it was shown to be based on a cell within your bones that when it's removed, you then have reduced appetite. Normally, when you work out, you would have reduced appetite. When you do exercise, you'll have reduced appetite. So now that this is gone, you now do not have this reduction of feeding. So then you'll end up having the same weight, no weight loss, essentially. So what this shows us is that perhaps for many animals, based on the presence of osteocytes, which were there since reptiles and fish, it may show that in order to lose weight, you could maintain tension felt in your bones so that you increase this positive effect that osteocytes have in reducing your appetite so that you maintain a physique that's suited for the exercise that you're doing. So if you stand, walk, jump around, be active, have a robust life, you can lift heavy weights, and this may all contribute to an aspect of losing weight based on the tension felt in your bones. You'll also lose weight and increase your metabolism based on the tension felt in your muscles, but also within your bones itself, you will lose weight. So, excessive sitting, watching TV too much, or sleeping for too long, you'll lose this effect of your osteocytes sensing tension and reducing your body weight based on that. Thank you for listening. Now, if you're interested, I could show you some of the citations involved and explain to you how exactly they removed the osteocytes specifically in these mice to do this experiment. So this was the main publication that I talked about, and the method that they used to reduce the weight of these mice in the normal setting, that was just by doing a weight that's applied to their back. And the basis at which they showed that osteocytes are responsible for this was through a transgenic mouse. So this transgenic mouse had two genes inserted. One is the diphtheria toxin receptor that is broken because it has a stop sequence within it. And they also had a Cre recombinase gene that has a special promoter that's only present in osteocytes. Cre recombinase will normally cut at certain sequences called lock sites, and they are surrounded this stop region. So Cre recombinase will normally cut this and then recombine the DNA such that it is now the fully functional DTR gene. So diphtheria toxin receptor will then bind to diphtheria toxin that could be injected into the mouse. So then all the cells will be fine, except this specific cell will be removed. And when this cell is removed, then the organism, the mouse, is completely fine. It's just that you now get to see what happens when the cell is gone. So dentin matrix protein 1 is a gene that's only present in osteocytes. So then now you end up allowing there to be many diphtheria toxin receptors only on osteocytes. So now when you inject diphtheria toxin, only the osteocytes are gone. And then now you could see when you do exercise with this mouse, or basically apply a weight to this mouse, you get to see if there actually is weight loss based on reduced feeding or some sort of mechanism. So this is the molecular approach that they did. It was through a transgenic line. And if ever you have any questions, feel free to ask. I am always around. Thank you for watching.